he was out 4 to 6 weeks. Right now, yeah, with a knee injury. We don't know too much details. Obviously, it's something that just broke, an hour or two ago. So yeah, that's pretty big news for Calvin Ridley. That's pretty big news for this Tennessee offense, who I'm really high on. It's a big one because this now 4 to 6 weeks puts you in week 2, week 3 range, depending on how significant that is.
Well, actually, 4 to 6 says you can start at the beginning of the year, but you're not going to have the workouts in, and so they'll probably limit the plays. But we're here to talk about Bob and about consistency. Now, Bob, I know that you know what the FSWA is because you're an FSWA winner. Tell us about that.
So after it was my second year of writing the book.
Tell us what the book is.
So the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide. And our good friend, president of FSWA, Andy Barron, said, "Hey, Bob, I saw your book you did last year. This year, if you mail it to me, we'll submit it as for, potential to review and, for best publication, printed publication." And I'm like, okay, I thought, well, that's very nice of him to want to do that. And I sent it in, and I got nominated in 2017. I was like, that I've made it. I've got something nominated. In 2018, I actually won the award, and I was even more ecstatic. And now 7 straight years in a row, I've been nominated as one of the best publications for the Fantasy Football Consistency Guide by FSWA. And every year it's me against CBS Sports, NBC Sports, Fantasy Points, Guru Elite, all of the top people. Wow. The fact that I'm even nominated to me is a win every single year. So just honored by that the FSWA, which is basically a group of peers in our organization, feel that book is worthy enough to be at least nominated amongst those people. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about why that book can help you win your fantasy leagues. That's our primary focus tonight. I know a lot of people want to hear about the expo, but folks, go listen to last night's Game Changers. Bob covered the expo on that.
I was going to say, I covered it pretty heavily last night. So definitely.
That's right. So we're going to start off with a question that I asked you last night. Because you're looking at actual performances and judging their consistency, how do you cover the rookies?
So I do an analysis and an article in the guide every year, and it's honestly just simply called Rookies versus Consistency. Now, I have nothing to track because they haven't performed at an NFL level. And we all know that there have been amazing college players, Johnny Manziel, I'm looking at you, that, whether they won a Heisman or they were one of the top players of the, in the NFL and they get drafted very highly, doesn't always equate to, excellent performance or let alone top performance in fantasy football. And it definitely applies to consistency as well. So I'll throw the numbers out. For those of you who have your guide, please reference page 9. But 516 players have been drafted in the first 4 rounds at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end since 2010. Of those 516 players, only 58 of them hit or exceeded 60% consistency in their rookie season. So that is it's around 11%, which means 89% of those rookies did not earn that. Now, where is that at from a perspective of position? So running backs are the highest at 16.7%, wide receivers 11.5%, quarterbacks at 9%, tight ends at 4.3%. So basically 96% of all tight ends do not earn 60% in their first year. And that includes who didn't make it: Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, TJ Hawkinson. None of those guys in their first year exceeded that. And if you look at it, now the amazing thing about this stat or this information is wide receivers, if they do make it, will go on for continued consistency success versus the other positions that don't always. So I'm just going to name off about 10 of the 24 that have made it over the last number of years. So AJ Green, Jamar Chase, Julio Jones, Chris Olave, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson, Jarvis Landry, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans. All of those guys, and there's many, many more, but all of them are names that are still very top of the list every season from a fantasy perspective, and they continue to maintain that consistency. So when you go back and look and say, oh, okay, now we've got guys like Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, and Jaden Reed last year who all made it. Those are guys that you can look at and go, maybe they will continue that success, as have others. Now, tight end, we have 4. Imagine, and surprisingly enough, 2 of them have came out of the last 3 years, and that is Sam Laporta and Kyle Pitts. The only other 2 were Evan Ingram and Jordan Reed back in 2013.
Wow.
That are the only tight ends that have ever got 60% in their rookie season. So
I'm going to interrupt Tipp because it's his turn, but I want you to explain what 60% consistency means.
Me or Tipp?
You. Tipp doesn't.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking Tipp to do. Okay. So 60% consistency means that there is a clutch factor in let's say for PPR scoring. And every time a player at that position earns over that amount, and for tight ends is about 8 to 9 points in a PPR, they earn a clutch game. More clutch games, higher consistency rating. So if they're 60%, that means only 60% of the games were they actually good enough to be in the top 12 at tight end. Now that fluctuates from week to week. Sometimes there could be 10, sometimes there's 14, but on average, it's usually top 12. So basically they're good enough to be a starting tight end for that week for your team. So you want that consistency from them. Tight ends, of course, is the hardest one to nail down, but if you can find them, they're definitely worth keeping hold of. And that's why we usually overpay for folks like Kelsey and Laporta and those kind of folks.
So this year, well, at first I didn't hear Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is he on there as well as far as the consistency? I know you said you didn't read off all the names, but where is he as far as consistency?
So he did not earn 60% his rookie season.
Right. Okay.
But I think since then, I got to believe he's pretty. Scroll down and find him real quick.
Oh, that's not a good sign if you got to scroll down.
Well, no, I mean it's an alphabetic order, so he's under.
Oh, okay.
It's not that order.
Oh, okay. I was like, when I think of that, I think of like the draft order where you have the top 200 players, and you always got to go.
So his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken, was 2021, correct?
2021. Right.
Mm-hmm. So he was only 47% consistent, even though he was 22nd total points.
He was a fourth round pick too.
81 and 94.
He was a fourth round pick too. Mm-hmm. So as a rookie, Detroit did not trust him the way they did after they saw him play.
It did take a little bit. I do remember because towards the end of the season, the playoffs is when he really got his claim to fame is in those playoffs. But and one player I do want to talk, since we were talking tight ends, Brock Bowers. What are your thoughts on him? Because I was ecstatic when the Raiders got him, first of all, another weapon, right? And then I was watching Hard Knocks last week, and they had the New York Giants, and Nick Saban had told Brian Daboll that there was 2 players in the draft that were a problem: Brock Bowers and Malik Neighbors. And of course, they went and got Malik Neighbors, the Giants. But that has to scream out something. It screamed out something to me, and the tape showed it. What do you think as far? I mean, I know this is all speculation and now.
96%, Tipp. 96%.
I know, but I want to hear
Thank you,
from
Greg.
Bob. I want to hear from Bob.
So here's the problem is the Raiders went out and drafted Michael Mayer last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
That didn't go well. Why would we believe Brock Bowers is going to be that much of a difference, that he makes that big of an impact, especially when you have Devontae Adams and you have Jacoby Myers, who both were very, consistent from a week-to-week standpoint. You've got 2 marginally decent quarterbacks. I I just don't see them, they like to run the ball more. So, I just, I'm not buying. I mean, if I'm in a 2 tight end league kind of thing, maybe, but I'm not reaching for him.
And Tipp is a huge Raiders fan.
Oh, so am I.
And I've tried to tell him that rookie tight ends don't do what Sam Laporta did.
No.
And if you recall, the other one, Kyle Pitts, had 1,000-yard season, but I think he only scored 2 touchdowns that year.
Right. He barely squeaked by. He was right at 60.
Yeah. And he hasn't really had the quarterbacks. Now, you can say what you want about 2 marginally good quarterbacks. Neither O'Connell nor Minshew are really proven. And I keep going back to the tight end position last year in Las Vegas, got 73 total targets spread among 4 players.
Yeah.
How many targets
are they drafted? Mayer
is
one of their guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many targets are they? Yeah, he got 40. You're not going to be top 12 with 40 targets. You're just not. So let's go. You mentioned a name that I know you mentioned last night, and I want to hit on him because people don't think about him. But you said you're drafting him every chance you get because of where he's going, and that's Jakobi Meyers.
Yeah.
Tell us about Jakobi Meyers.
Well, as I said, most people, if it's one of those, I always say, if you're at a bar and you're talking fantasy and you want to win a bet, ask, do the old name this wide receiver and say this wide receiver was 24th in total points and 29th in consistency. You can just say the total points because probably the person doesn't know consistency at all. But to say 24th in total points last year as the wide receiver 2 on his team, but still was 24th in total points in the whole NFL, I guarantee you nobody's going to say Jakobi Meyers except me, Greg, and now you. That's it. I mean, because and he did it so consistently. He'd get that 10 to 12 every week, just enough to get over that 10-point scenario for getting that clutch game. And he just was. And now you can get him as wide receiver 46, 50. I mean, he's way out there. I've gotten him I think in the Scott Fish Bowl, I got him in like round 18. He gets the job done, and he always has. I mean, he was 28th in both the year before, 31st in total points the year before that. I mean, he just quietly does the job.
Yep.
Thank you. You're right. I have a head cold.
Yeah, you're right about Jakobi Meyers. Yeah, he's there in and out. I don't know. I don't think that the Raiders go out there and get a Brock Bowers knowing that they have a Michael Mayer and don't at least utilize him at some point in this season. Luke Getsy, he likes to utilize the tight ends as well. I think that's going to be beneficial for both Michael Mayer and Brock Bauer. But Brock Bauer, I think, will also be utilized a little bit more kind of as one of those guys who you can move everywhere. I mean, you've seen him in Georgia. You've seen him utilized out of the slot as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Now, another player that I'm bullish on this year, and I can't see you guys. You guys, it's like frozen. But I can hear you totally fine.
You're frozen. We're not.
Yeah, I'm going to keep rolling with it. So, Bijan Robinson, to me, there hasn't been anything that I've seen to say, okay, if all the stars align for this kid, which so far the only star that wasn't aligned last year was, 2. Arthur Smith and not having a good quarterback. Now you got Kirk Cousins, who's a decent quarterback, and you got Zach Robinson in the OC, who's going to utilize that run position or that running back position and get him into space.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Bijan this year?
Oh, I mean, how do you not love this kid?
I mean,
last year with Dr. Evil Arthur Smith at the helm, Robinson had one of the best rookie seasons from a consistency standpoint in 13 years. Think about that. How good he was as a rookie, even though we bitched about him every week about him and Arthur Smith not getting the job done.
Yes.
And he was still 76% consistent, which was the best rookie running back in 13 years. Imagine what he does this year with the chains off. I mean, if I have the ability to get him in, picks 1 through 5 in a draft, I mean, I don't know how you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for saying that. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. But, I was on a space just not even an hour ago, and a guy was like, no, CMC. And I'm not knocking CMC. I think CMC is consistent. But I just think that Bijan just has so much. Oh, my God. It hasn't been unleashed.
Number 2 for me, Tip.
It has not been unleashed.
Bijan's number 2 for me. I still go CMC first. You talk about consistency at 76 for Bijan. He's going to have a better role this year. What was CMC's consistency, Bob?
92%.
Okay. So CMC is still number 1 for me. So let's go back to the argument from Tip Space earlier. Puka versus Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper was hurt all last year, and that had to hurt his consistency. But over his career, who do you like better, Puka or Cooper?
First off, I was wrong on McCaffrey. He was 100% consistent. He didn't.
Wow.
Just saying. A year before that, he was 88%. Okay, so Puka, So Puka certainly had an amazing year for a rookie. I mean, we can't argue with that at all. Kupp, though, still has that 2021 where he was first in total points, and I think he was he almost 100 points ahead of second place that year? I think.
Close it was
100% consistency, 17 for 17, never missed a game. Last year, so 2 years ago, so 2022, he misses half the season. He was 89% consistent at that point. So he was 4th overall at 89%, even though he missed half the season. Now, last year, 7 for 12, but as he mentioned, what did he say? Something like he wasn't healthy in any game. Like he was always playing with injuries and that. And they talked about how all the plays you'd see him miss getting the ball. He was a step behind. The ball was where he would normally be, but he was here. And that is injuries, and that injuries causes timing issues, and timing issues is a problem. Was Nakua great? Yeah. I did not know about the drops. He was 76% consistent, so he was 9th amongst all receivers, and was 4th in total points. I could see them both being top 15. I don't know if one or the other will be top 10, especially if. But then again, Rams love to throw the ball, and we'll see what happens. I actually am drafting Cooper Kupp in many leagues because I'm getting him in like round 3, where Puka's going to go end of first, early second if you want him, and I just don't want to pay that price for him.
Yeah, he had 16 drops if I recall correctly, and when you have 150, 160 targets, 16 drops is. Understand, a drop is not an uncatchable ball. A drop is a ball that you should catch, but you don't.
Okay.
And the second place guy had 15. So it's not like he had 20 more drops than the next worst guy. So I like Puka. And he's going into his second year, and we see growth in year 2 and year 3 of wide receivers. But I'm telling you, a 2-round difference in drafting is huge. I'm on the Cooper Kupp bandwagon. How about you, Tim?
You do.
Oh no, I am. I'm on the bandwagon of this whole Rams offense. They had a really good offensive line last year. I think they only surrendered something like 10 sacks last year, something crazy that a lot of people didn't. And then they went and bolstered it up even more. And then one thing that we also have to understand is Aaron Donald's no longer there, so he's not that disruptor that they've had. So their defense, they got some really good players, especially in the draft on the defense. But is it going to be what it once was? So they might be in some situations where they need
Bob shaking his head.
Throw the ball. Yeah, they may need to throw the ball a little bit more. And I've always trusted Sean McVay, although it's kind of hard to trust him because you never know where the ball is going to. You don't know who it's going to go to, but he's going to give it to Cooper Kupp. It seems like he's going to give it to Puka Nacua. the questions now are Kyron Williams or Blake Corum, and
That's
I know
not a question. It's not a question.
Oh, I was gonna say, did you just lob that softball in the air for him? What were you doing?
Yeah, Kyron is already injured. He's 193 pounds. All right.
Yeah.
Understand, Kyron is a small back. All right. Already injured, foot injury, which is what plagued him last year. What did he miss? 3, 4, 5 games last year? He's very good when he's on the field. But one thing about Blake Corum is he's 10.
From Michigan.
Yep. 10. Well,
that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know, Bob. You're right. That's all you need to know.
Here's what you need to know about Blake Corum is that he's 10 to 12 pounds heavier than Kyron, depending on whose scale you use to weigh him. He ran a faster 40 than Kyron did. Anybody who thinks Kyron is more elusive than Blake Corum never watched Blake Corum play.
Yeah, who said that? I don't know if I agree with that.
I think Corum takes over the starting job, but Kyron earned it, and so he's not going to give it handed to him. But also, when you get down inside the 3, who do you think they're going to give the ball to? 193-pound Kyron Williams or 213-pound Blake Corum?
They're going to throw it to Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
You want to crown him? You crown their ass.
Well, let me ask you, Bob, you don't draft rookies very often.
Not very often. No, I mean, there's been times, again, I remember Barkley and, Zeke and, some of these guys when they came out of school. I mean, if they come out of school and they're a big time talent, especially at running back,
like
it's hard not to, but
like Blake Corum.
I mean, look, if Blake Corum's around as my RB3 or 4,
I'm getting him as RB5.
Or 5, yeah. I mean, again, it's not like you have to overpay to get this kid. I'm not drafting any Kyron Williams whatsoever.
I'm telling everybody that does, follow it up with Blake Corum because you get him so much later and you're guaranteed. And the running game in the Rams is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's good. The problem with it is that there's never been a time where a player has stuck around for very long in the Rams backfield. I mean, Cam Akers is the perfect example of he was the man. Everybody wanted him the next year, and by the middle of that next season, he was replaced by Kyron Williams or somebody else.
Yeah, but didn't he tear his Achilles?
I
think he did.
At some point he did, but
I don't think any running back has ever come back from an Achilles to have a good year. Ever.
I thought Adrian Peterson came back from
it. He came back from an ACL, ACL tear. The ligaments in the knee, they come back from. But the difference is that with the Achilles, you lose a little bit of quickness on your cuts. And the difference
somebody has torn both of his, I feel your pain.
Yeah. But no, would you draft Malik Neighbors this year? I'm really considering it.
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. It's just going to be a question of how high, because don't you have to draft Neighbors like in the same area? You got to draft Cooper Kupp.
No, I think 4th or 5th round, and he's going after MHJ, and I'm avoiding MHJ.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not drafting Harrison either, because again, there's just so many good veterans. I mean, you can draft Marvin Harrison or Mike Evans. To me, that's not even a choice. And I'm not saying Harrison could have one of the best rookie seasons in a long time, maybe, but he also could, not.
It's safe to say you watch the trends. You're looking at trends. You're looking at trends with.
You're looking at consistency.
Well,
and I'm also looking at what's around him. Mm-hmm. If Harrison starts off hot, what defense is not going to double team him and say, let's let Michael Wilson beat us?
Mm-hmm. I like Michael Wilson, though.
I mean, he's probably a good receiver, but now if Marvin Harrison played opposite of Justin Chase or Jamar Chase, we got a different story. But
would you
happening.
draft him opposite Jamar Chase, or would you think Chase is going to take all the thunder?
I mean,
he's going to take all the double teams.
Yeah, I mean, if Burrow stays healthy, I think they'll both be top 15. Well, or Chase will be top 5 or 10, but
yeah. But T will have a good year.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, kind of like the Rams, Bengals defense is pitiful.
Well,
so they're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
I know our good friend Disco, Big Draft Energy, loves Jermaine Burton.
Yeah.
But after talking to you, I think I'm out on Burton because he's a rookie and he's a wide receiver 3 at best on his team.
Yeah. I mean, he'll be the Tyler Boyd, where every once in a while he'll have a big game because the other team has, taken away Chase somehow or Higgins. And maybe he gets open for a 60-yard touchdown or, has some kind of big play in one game. But there's not going to be any consistency out of Burton at all. I mean, I don't know why you would draft him in a redraft league. Dynasty, I get, but not redraft.
Tip, what do you think
about Burton?
Yeah, and your next question.
I think that offense can sustain 3 wide receivers. I mean, obviously Chase is going to be the alpha, the number 1, but you also got Higgins there too. So it's going to be few and far between, but I think it can over the course of a season handle that. Now, the thing is they are in a tough division with, all these really good defenses. That's going to be an issue. They're going to try to run the ball too. Zach Moss he's not the ideal guy. Like you would be like, oh, he's not the sexy pick. But I will say the thing about Zach Moss is he's a really good pass blocker. So he's going to go out there and he's going to block for whenever you get those, linebackers or those DNs that come in and try to get to Joe Burrow. He's really good at that, the pass pro. So he can handle that. And then you got Chase Brown. I think James Burton could flash like Bob was saying, it definitely. Now, if one of those receivers was to go down, now we're talking, and you hate that. You don't want that to happen.
No,
but
right.
It has been something that since we're talking consistency, that has consistently happened with their wide receivers. Either Chase goes down or Higgins goes down. One of those two are going down the last couple of years. Hopefully they stay healthy, though.
See, now, I like Chase Brown, but Bob, you're here to talk about consistency. Zach Moss or Chase Brown, I got to believe Zach Moss is more consistent, but Chase has the higher big play potential.
Yeah, I mean, Moss is more consistent because he's had more opportunities to be the starter. And, he proved that last year he took over for Jonathan Taylor and for the Colts. Certainly did a very nice job filling in, but he couldn't stay healthy either. I think they're going to – I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 50-50 split with that backfield. That's the way I look at it, just because I think it makes the most sense for Cincinnati as a whole. Brown, it's definitely a thunder lightning kind of thing. It's going to be what the game script is. If they're behind, then you may see Chase Brown coming out of the backfield more, but then again, if they're passing more, then you might see Zach Moss and they're blocking. So who knows?
What is your threshold for running back?
What is the clutch factor points wise? It's about 10 and a half. So I would say if you go over 11, you're good.
We say 11. If Chase Brown has an 11-point game and a 28-point game, both of those are over the clutch factor.
Mm-hmm.
So he can be consistent even though he's not really consistent.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is that you want them to be over 11 points every week. That's the 100%. Yeah. Obviously, the more points they score over that 11, the better off you feel about that player. What you don't want is the 28 points one week and then 5 the next. Or, that's the ones that'll kill you. That's the ones that usually stick out. Like, Lamar Jackson, I talked about last night. Lamar was 63% consistent, which means that, 47.
I want a consistency guide.
You did. No, you want a DNO ticket.
I can't do DNO. I'm in the draft, the King's Classic.
Well, there you go. So you have to give it away. But 30% of the 37% of the time, like a third of the games, Lamar wasn't helping your team. He wasn't earning at least that 19 to 20 points. And is that what you want out of your MVP fantasy quarterback? I know I don't. I'd rather have Dak Prescott or Joe Burrow or Jordan Love, who are all higher percentages.
Hey, Ann Dunn said hi, Bob.
Hi, Ann. Yes, I'm everywhere.
He said he's everywhere.
In fact, at 8:30, I'm going to jump on with Andrew Hall on his show. So stop over that one.
Tell Andrew we said hello.
We will.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm happy we actually started talking quarterbacks, because that was going to be the next one. We were talking a lot about the positional players, but quarterback wise, give us a little rundown on that the consistency guide on that, the clutch factor on them. And then what are your thoughts on maybe some guys who didn't have such a good season last year, or a mediocre season last year, maybe like a Trevor Lawrence, and what do you think that could happen this year with some of those people?
Interestingly enough, the quarterback position has really dropped off from a consistency standpoint overall over the last few years. Last year, the clutch factor was the lowest in the history of me tracking it.
Wow.
It was only 18.5 points.
Oh.
Even with the bar set that low, people like Lamar Jackson didn't make it over 18.5 points 37% of the time. Wow. He was 12th in consistency at quarterback, and yet he's being drafted as QB4 in rounds 3. But Jordan Love was 5th in total points. It was 71% consistent. That ranked him 5th. And in the second half of the season, Jordan Love was 89% consistent.
Yes.
But yet he's being drafted, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, maybe even farther after Lamar. So is Prescott, who was 65%. So is, of course, Joe Burrow. Didn't have a very good season because he was hurt. But just 2 years ago, he was the 80% in 80 percentile. Tua was only 47% consistent last year. Stayed healthy, but just, so I've noticed that quarterbacks are being weighted on, except for Allen, Hurts, Mahomes. Basically those 3. Lamar is usually the 4th one in that. And then there's just a big gap. So if you want one of those 4, you still got to get them. You don't have to draft them around 2 or 3 like you did last year, but it's round 3 or 4. But you can wait to round 6, 7 and get, like I said, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, or Joe Burrow. Those 3 are the ones I usually targeting. CJ Stroud's in there if you are a CJ Stroud lover. But you can also wait and get guys like Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, as you mentioned. And those aren't really that bad. I mean, they certainly have a little less consistency in their model, but I've even explained to people, like in the consistency guide, which of course you can get on Amazon, folks, if you want to know. If you get Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins, okay, in round like 9 and 10, back to back, and just play one or the other when they're playing at home, you probably can get about 80% consistency out of that, because that's all those guys are really good at, is playing at home.
Your guide breaks down home, away, grass,
yes.
turf. Is there a big difference?
Yeah. So here, let me find Goff. So Goff, this is 3 years combined, but he's 68% at home, 22% on the road. Mm. I know last year he was 80% at home and 20% on the road. Mm. Then Cousins, which is up here, is 71% at home. So basically, again, if you just use those 2 and you can be at 75% consistency, you're matching what Josh Allen did last year. And you're drafting 2 guys in the 9th and 10th round. Not a terrible idea. And I've been in some drafts where I missed out on Dak and Jordan Love and them, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do that. So I think it was the best ball draft.
For golf, is it home away or is it grass turf?
No, so I'm glad you brought that up because I've seen some people talk about, oh, well, golf is just good indoors. Yeah, not really. In fact, I'm going to pull it up. So on the website on bigguyfantasysports.com, where you can get this actual schedule, I have the week by weeks in details. So I just wanted to bring up the ones he missed last year and where they were. So he missed one playing indoors in New Orleans. He missed one in Michigan. Jesus, sorry. I blame you for that, Greg. Minnesota indoors. And the other one was in Dallas indoors. So it's not necessarily the, if he's indoors, he's great. No, it's more if he's at home.
Where were his 20% away game successes?
Successes?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's 2 games, right?
Tampa Bay, where it's nice and warm.
Yeah. But grass. So it wasn't a grass thing.
He had a great game against the Chargers in LA, which is practically indoors. He had a good game against, that was at home. Sorry.
Did he have a good game against Ravens? Or
I think that's it, because you said 20%. 2 games. That's got to be it.
Yeah. I remember the Bucks game because I remember Amon-Ra broke off for that 27-yard touchdown with Greg Reynolds blocked the dude into the seats. I remember that. That was okay. For some reason I'm thinking though that he did pretty good against, like, they got stomped by the Ravens, but I think as far as
he only had 13.2 points.
Okay. So I was thinking wrong on that one.
His other really bad game was at home or on the road against Chicago. But if I'm not mistaken, that was a game where there was like 70-mile-an-hour winds or really bad weather.
Everybody would. So do you, when you're pairing up 2 late-round quarterbacks, do you compare their home-away schedule so that you kind of can tell that, okay, Goff is away these weeks, and we know Cousins is at home these weeks?
I haven't figured that out, because
Goff and Cousins could have the same away and home weeks.
He could. I have not went that far, but I can do it really quick.
Your next tip. I'm sorry, I stepped on
you.
Okay,
there you go.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm just interested.
Yeah, no, this is good stuff, guys. This is what it's about. This is what the consistency guide brings you. It brings you the breakdown, the full breakdown of what these players are doing. That's why we really, really, really love it. I actually have a question about the Expo, but let's go to this first, and then we will talk about that.
So, according to just a quick and dirty, there are 3 games that they do both play away.
Wow.
So
but I didn't check the indoor-outdoor, so that could change.
You could just add a 3rd quarterback, because you could literally get James Seo says he's got Goff and Lawrence. You could get Goff, Lawrence, and Cousins, and if you have a 20-man roster, that's not killing you.
That's not right at all. And Lawrence has a really easy, I think he has strength of schedule. I think I know he's top 5 for sure. I want to say he's number 1, but he's up there.
So the one week
you want to know if Lawrence is consistent when he's home.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Because remember, some of his games are played overseas too. So that's another factor.
So a couple of the games that they do both play away, one of the games in 2 out of the 3, one of the game they're indoors. So like one's playing at New Orleans, one's playing at Dallas.
Wow.
And let's see, what's the other one?
Who has the retractable dome?
Houston. So the one's indoors at Houston.
Who has the retractable dome, where it's an indoor stadium, but they open the dome sometimes?
Seattle's that way. I thought
Houston.
I thought Dallas was that way, wasn't it?
I just don't remember. Yeah.
Oh, Seattle and Dallas are the 2 that I remember, but I don't know if they have other ones or not.
Yeah, Houston has a retract.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah. I think maybe even Arizona too. The Cardinals.
Yeah, I think Arizona does. You're right.
Yeah.
It's your turn, Tip.
Well, okay. So I know that you've been talking about it probably at nauseum, Bob. But hey, this is your baby. This is the Fantasy Football Expo, and this is the first year, thanks to a lot of great people. But this is the first year I'm going to be going.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions. My first question is, I've already, I'm not even going to make an itinerary for myself. I'm just going to go there and enjoy and be a fan. That's like my thing. But other than the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame, what is something in Canton, Ohio that I've got to do? Like I've got to check out.
Mini golf.
So there's a reason why I keep everybody really super busy during Expo weekend is because there's nothing else to do in Canton, Ohio, other than the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Expo itself.
Really? Okay.
Now, if you want to, the day before you come in or the day after, before you leave, especially if you're leaving out of Cleveland, definitely go visit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in downtown Cleveland. That is well worth it. Beyond that, there isn't much else.
Okay. All right. Second question, and now I'll be done, Greg, with the Expo stuff. Food places. Everybody's talking about different food joints.
George's.
They talk about that place. Somebody said Jersey's. There's a haunted house restaurant somewhere in Ohio. I've heard
in
about
Ohio. Oh, okay.
Cleveland. I'm sorry. There's this haunted house restaurant. I've heard about that. I'm just trying to figure out like what are some places to eat. What are some good spots besides the Jordan?
Where are you staying?
He's staying at DoubleTree with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a restaurant down the street called Samantha's, which is the really good breakfast place.
Okay.
A lot of people go there. George's has got like those
burgers,
great bars, sloppy, greasy hamburgers. Good stuff. If you have lots of money and that money is no object, there's a place called Bender's, which is right around the corner from the hotel. It's super good, but it's high end, amazing seafood, steaks, high end stuff. But
we talking $50 a plate, $100?
Yeah, no, more like 50.
Okay. So it's like going to Red Lobster.
Okay.
God, is that what Red Lobster costs? That I'm not going there anymore.
It is.
That's probably why they're no longer.
The good thing about Canton, Ohio, is that nothing's really expensive. To us, it is. But a $50 plate is McDonald's in New York City. But yeah, so Bender's is really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you told us last time you were on with us earlier in the off season that there's a new wing or new something. There was something new in the Hall of Fame that they were unveiling this year. I don't remember quite what it was. I think it was John Madden's bus, or he had actual. No, that's been there. There was something you were saying.
So so the Madden Cruiser, the old Madden Cruiser. I think it's still on campus. I know they have it always on campus this weekend for Hall of Fame. It might still be there next weekend. It's usually down in front of the hall, somewhere in there. Remind me when you get in town, and I'll check with my guy at the Village and see if it's still around. You can go see it.
Okay, cool. All right, Greg, I'm sorry. I hogged enough now. I'm good.
No, it's okay. There's extra events at the expo that I did not attend last year at all. All I did was go to the expo and then go to the Airbnb I stayed at. This year, I'm going to them all. Let's start with Friday night. What's going on Friday night, and where is it?
Friday night, 6 to 10 p.m., Centennial Plaza, literally 3 blocks from the DoubleTree Hotel. So you can just walk right up the street to it. And it's an outdoor venue. Centennial Plaza was built for the 100th anniversary of the creation of the NFL in Canton, Ohio in 1920 by George Halas and a bunch of the other NFL owners. They did do it in downtown Canton. That's where it was created. That's why we have the hall, and that's why we have Centennial Plaza. Really cool venue. Looks like a football, and it's got AstroTurf and big stage, big TV. We then have a cornhole tournament during that event. And so that's a lot of fun. And we have, of course, prizes from Trophy Smack. We'll we'll draw for the winning ticket who gets the $2,000 entry into the FFPC $1 million event. So if you come to the expo, you could become a millionaire. Just saying.
Hey, now, is there a fee for that, or is that covered in the ticket?
Nope. Everybody who bought a weekend ticket is automatically entered into the contest. We will put all the names into one of those spinny things and we'll pull it out. And that'll be the
Bob,
winner.
just saying, I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you.
We'll share it,
I
team.
don't know if you have any pull on this or anything, but just saying.
I reached my hand in. I don't think I have any pull other than what I'm pulling out. But
no, but you can
I'll
read
glue it to my
you want
hand.
to read.
Great Kellogg. What?
Nah, seriously though, that's Friday night. There's really nothing going on at the expo Friday other than picking up your swag bags. Now I'm going to probably try to get Tips because he's not coming in until Friday.
Okay.
So since I'm checking in on Thursday and you're going to have him there Thursday, I'll check him in.
Thursday, starting at noon, we will be in the lobby of the hotel, my wife and I, and you can check in and get your bags and all that kind of stuff. And then usually we just kind of hang out there in the bar, hotel, shake hands, kiss babies, hang out, have a good time.
And then Friday, we're getting there Thursday. On Friday, I'm driving up to Cleveland to get Tip and bringing him down. His swag bag will be sitting on his bed waiting for him. So
there you go. What a guy.
And then we'll go to the party. We'll go to the party Friday night. Then Saturday morning, what time do we show up? I know I'm drafting. And I want to thank Bob for that publicly. Bob did me a favor. I told him if there's an opening, I'd love to draft against these guys because I just want to compete against the best. And I think Bob said last night, well, I got into the King's Classic because I put it together. Well,
exactly. That's the only reason I got into it.
I got into it because Mike Clay, another friend, couldn't make it this year.
Right.
And so there was an opening, and Bob knew I had expressed interest, so he put me in. Now, this is a one-time only thing.
Hall of Famer. How did I not put you in, man?
Well, this is a one-time only thing unless I win. If I win, I will commit. If Mike wants me to draft for him again, I will, but he gets his spot back. I'm not holding on to it because it's for industry people, and I'm not, I'm with the sports affiliation, but I'm
a Hall of Famer. I mean, it'd be like, hey, we're going to have Warren Moon drafting it because, he played football. I mean,
but that'd be cool, though. I think everybody that's in the King's Classic would love to draft against Warren Moon.
I would love for him to do it, too, because he does follow fantasy. One of my other fun stories is that I think it was, I don't know how long ago it was. So let's say 2018, 2019. I was driving Warren down to like an autograph signing, one of those, shows. And I think I had the book laying in my car because I always did. And he goes, oh, fantasy football. He goes, do you play? And I go, yeah, this is my book. He goes, really? You write your own book? I go, yeah. He goes, oh, can I keep it? I'm like, absolutely. And then every year after that, he'd ask me for the new version.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He'd ask you? This guy's a multi-millionaire.
He'd like,
buy it.
It's much more rewarding handing my book.
Yeah,
to
Greg, come on, Greg.
Says the guy who won a copy.
Yeah.
So, I won a copy on a duck race with JC. So even if I got the draft night out last night, I still think I got a second copy.
I'm sure you do.
But basically, I'm going to have you autograph them. JC's giving me a hardcover one. I didn't know you had hardcover.
Well, it's a paperback. It's not like hardcover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to get it autographed, and I'm going to gift it to Tip. So Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4
p.m.,
I'm going to be drafting. So I'm not going to be able to walk around.
Hall of Fame. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to walk around and go to all the gambling stuff that's on. Right. So you're going to have a bunch of panels about gambling, about DFS, and a lot of. I know JC's on your IDP panel. Yep. What else is going on Saturday?
So Saturday, multiple things are going on. Of course, all the King's Classics and Queen's Classics are going on usually between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Some start a little bit later. College football, fantasy football, John Lobb and his group are drafting upstairs in the Hall of Fame. We'll be downstairs in the Nash Center Event Center, which is in the basement of the hall. So we'll have all two of our Kings Classics, IDP Classic and Queens Classic, all drafting in there live. And you can, if you have your Hall of Fame ticket, you can get in and come and check us out and hang out with us. And then draft night out, of course, going on at noon to 4 at the Brew Kettle, which is literally up the steps from the Hall of Fame. Seth Woolcock, all his group, does an amazing job with that. They have, I think, 12 leagues, 12 teams, 144, 150 people, all in that. So that goes on from like noon to 4. Then at 5 o'clock in the Dome, we start our flag football tournament from 5 to 7. And then in the end zone of the Hall of Fame game stadium, that is literally right now, they're playing in that stadium. We'll be there next Saturday in the end zone, partying our asses off from 7 to 11. So playing beer pong.
Draft night out is an additional cost.
Yes, draft night out is additional cost. You can go to draftnightout.com, get your tickets for that. I think there's still a few openings. So check that out. That is not included in your ticket price.
Everything else is included in your
Everything else is included. So the Hall of Fame ticket is separate and the draft night out is separate. But with your weekend pass, you get into the Friday party, Saturday party. You can come watch flag football. You like I said, the Saturday party, and then the sports betting Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Dome. So if you're getting into sports betting, want to learn how to do it better, we have a building winning parlays, sports betting 101, how to do better at playing props, player props, all that kind of cool stuff from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Dome. We'll be doing that. All the trade show booths will be open during that time as well. So if you're not doing draft night out, if you're not doing Kings Classic and you're not touring the hall, you other 400 or 500 people, come on up and watch the sports betting Saturday. A lot of great stuff, a lot of great things, a lot of great product demos.
We're running out of time, so I've got to get to Sunday. Sunday, what's going on Sunday?
10 a.m., 4 p.m., all fantasy football for 6 straight hours. The best of the best will be on stage, talking, sharing on every kind of genre you can think of.
And you forgot the most important thing. Sunday night.
Sunday night karaoke party. I'm 90% sure we have a venue. It is called the 19th Hole. It's about 2 blocks up from the Doubletree Hotel. So you can come, drink, eat, sing, and play golf simulators.
Golf simulators.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I'm rushing up my vocal cords as we speak, so I'm working.
Mine are shot.
Bob, real quick before Greg, before we go, just a quick, just 30 seconds. Why did you start the Fantasy Football Expo? What was the reasoning behind it?
Because couple reasons. Number one, there needed to be one. Number two, it needed to be in Canton because that's where the Hall of Fame is. That's in the middle of Midwest. Everybody can be here. But most importantly, there needed to be a venue that all of us people who have full-time jobs and do this on the side with the passion to create something new and exciting for fantasy football needed to be able to share that amongst people and friends and get together once a year and hang out outside of Twitter. That's why it was created.
Okay, now I do have to say before we close, be sure to check out Surf Football and Generations Football. Their new games are outstanding. And obviously, come by the TSA booth and the Drafters booth with Disco and Bayou Bingo and all those folks. Just stop by. This is an amazing event. And if you don't get there this year, start planning now for next year. Because, Bob, you're going to put it on again next year, right?
Yes, August 8th through the 10th, 2025. And there will be a indoor water park on the campus at the Hall of Fame. So bring your wife and kids, bring the whole family.
Oh, wow.
Hey, and the most important part of next year, what are the colors?
The Detroit Lions, baby.
Take us out, JC. Bob, thank you.
Thanks, guys.